Welcome to episode 266 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is Mr. Mike Potter, Macstock himself. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Dave. Great to be here.
Great to have you. So glad you're here. We also have Jeff Gamet back on the show. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm so happy to be here. It feels like a mini Macstock reunion.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, it does. And last but certainly not least, Ben Roethig's here. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good. I apparently snuck into the Macstock reunion.
It's okay.
You're welcome anytime.
You are welcome anytime.
Wouldn't be the same if you didn't crash the party.
That's right.
That's right.
So we got some stuff to talk about this week. Definitely some interesting stuff going on in the world with the devastation going on in Hawaii and specifically Maui. We're going to talk about that a little bit. iOS 17's got a new beta this week, and we'll talk a little bit about cord cutting this week, as well as Jeff has graciously agreed to also talk about Passkeys because he did a fine presentation over at the Mac and
I
Tech.
did what?
Yeah, you did. Because you did a fine Mac and Tech Apple User Group presentation. So I thought, what the heck? It's fresh in your minds. Let's share it with our listeners here and viewers to talk a little bit about Passkeys, because it's coming. It's here. It's going to be even closer as we think, because iOS 17 is going to be out soon enough here. So I think that'll be a good chat as well. But like always, let's just go ahead and jump into the news I have for this week. This story really intrigued me, so I wanted to really talk about it, only because I've talked about so many of these types of stories with the AirTag and people losing things and then they end up finding them. But this one looks like a total burn to United Airlines specifically.
Mm-hmm.
This gal's airline, the airline said her bag was lost, but the tracker said otherwise. So she flew to get it. So I have a link showing us to CNN and one other place here, 9 to 5 Mac, I think it is. So long story short, with this, she was a lacrosse player, had very expensive lacrosse equipment, and she flew from Denver. And when she got back to Denver, all of a sudden her bag wasn't there. So sure enough, I guess the plane ended up in Chicago at O'Hare Airport. So meanwhile,
so her bag went to a different plane than she was on.
Exactly. Because the bottom line of the story is they United Airlines labeled it wrong. It had the wrong code on it. So I'm summing this all up here because it's a relatively long story here, but I'll keep it short. But like I said, she went into a play at a lacrosse tournament. She had been in Baltimore. She went from Denver to Baltimore and then flew back to Denver. And the long story short, basically, is the United Airlines said that we can't find your bag. It's gone. I said, okay, well, look, I'm showing this to you here, and find my AirTag says it's in Terminal 1 at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. Guys, it's right there. No, we can't find it because, they're depending on what over barcode it is in here. And she did not want to lose this. As a lacrosse player, it's important to have a racket that's broken in and it's ready. And I'm not going to spend another $2,000 because I have lacrosse equipment. So what did she do? She decided, you know what? I'm going to jump on a plane, fly to Chicago from Denver and go get my bag. And she did. So she's going down in the baggage claim and AirTag telling her, hey, this is my bag. My bag is right here. Where's my bag? So they ended up giving it to her. So, and the funny thing is she had to use she had airline miles, so she had to use those, and which is a joke in itself because they made her pay for it, right? Well, no. The moral of the story was it got lots of press, and then all of a sudden, United Airlines is refunding her miles as well as gave her a voucher for more travel, but. Like the article says,
so they can lose her bag again.
Yes, exactly. So this is a lot of bad things with United Airlines, but the article literally says her bag was found in 30 seconds as soon as she got off the plane to go retrieve it. So I found this to be a unique story, and And I like to hear your guys' take on the AirTag itself and why the AirTag is just becoming more and more of an important thing to have as a device. Would you for any bag or I mean I got one on my backpack. I have them on my keys and every place else. So Mike, what do you think? Are you using? I assume you're using some AirTags, right?
I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm not using any AirTags. I've purchased one AirTag in my life, and it was a gift from my dad to put on his dog's collar.
Okay.
He had a dog who has a tendency to sneak out and roam the neighborhood at night.
Okay.
Before I read the article, I'm thinking, God, why on earth would you fly to go track down a lost bag? I mean, and then I saw it was lacrosse equipment, and I said, "Oh well, okay, that's super expensive equipment."
Yes, it is.
And then reading further on, I saw $2,000. Well, yeah, that's worth flying out for. Why on earth they wouldn't just give her bag? I have no idea. The excuse seems to be, well, most people just put in a claim and we give them money for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's someone who didn't want to put in a claim, didn't want to file against your insurance, and you could just hand them their bag. They were telling you exactly where it is. Mm-hmm. Why not give it to them? This is just it smacks of laziness at the highest levels.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah. It would have cost that airline considerably less if they would have went and to exactly where they said the bag was. I mean, it's O'Hare.
Yeah.
Pretty much half that terminal is United.
Oh, but Terminal 1 is pretty much all United.
Yeah. So it would have been relatively easy, but to be perfectly honest, United does not have the best reputation at this point, to say the least. No. This is just pure dysfunction.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jeff, you must have thoughts about this.
I don't know why you would think that. All right. So I'm willing to accept that that managing the logistics of getting checked luggage from one location to another and back into a customer's hands, that's a pretty monumental task right there. However, we have technology that that can make robots operate on Mars. We have technology that over the last year has put people out of jobs and created a whole new industry just by stringing words together to make sentences and phrases that read reasonably well. That's some pretty sophisticated technology. Barcode on a suitcase, in comparison, not that sophisticated. So that they knew where the bag was.
Oh.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to do the right thing. And the crappy thing is there's this feeling that I get from the airline industry in general that they don't really care, because it's not like if we want to fly somewhere, we can choose a different technology.
Right.
We have to go and get on one of these airlines' planes. And if they're all functioning basically the same, then it's not like you can say, well, I'm taking my business from United to Southwest.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
So the fact that that we're seeing people put AirTags on more and more luggage, to me, is an indication that people really are unhappy with the service that they're getting from airlines, and they expect their luggage is going to be lost.
Yeah.
I have AirTags on all of my bags that I travel with, and I don't check luggage. So even with that, I'm still AirTagging all my luggage.
Yeah, because who knows?
And I mean, you could get all the way up to the gate and they tell you, we're checking all bags at the gate.
Yep.
At which point my carry-on bag goes into the belly of the plane.
Yep.
There's an AirTag on it just in case that happens.
Yeah, no, it's something you have to do. In fact, the backpack I just got was I talked about that a number of episodes ago. The one, it has an actual built-in AirTag, and it's built right into the backpack. So I think it's going to be something that you're going to see more and more bags, like even luggage, like Samsonite or American Tourister, or any of those luggage manufacturers are going to probably start considering doing something like this. Offering it at a price, of course, but to have it built in.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just tells everybody the AirTag works. It really does. And like you said, Mike, you put it on your dad's dog, and my sister-in-law has it on all 3 of their dogs, and I see it all the time. And Apple kind of steered away from using it for dogs, but people are doing it anyway. But as long as they put it on the collar and it's not at a point where they can get to it and bite it, because you got to worry that. Especially because there's that lithium battery inside it. But I think the dog thing is just kind of a mute point, because Apple never says much about it other than that. I think it's more of a disclaimer to saying, don't.
Yeah, Apple doesn't encourage it.
We don't encourage it.
They don't really want you trusting your dog's life to an AirTag.
So
I think what I heard Jeff say, though, Dave, is that behind the scenes, the airline industry is part of the secret cabal keeping flying cars away from the general population.
That is literally what I was saying.
I thought so.
This is a conspiracy.
It is.
Yes,
it really is.
At the highest levels.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Dave, I have one other quick thought.
Of course,
this whole
please.
thing. Tile should be incredibly embarrassed.
Yeah.
They owned this market. They still have more, as far as I know, more Tile devices out in the world than there are AirTags. Yep. This was their market. They could have been the name. This should have been an article about how a woman flew to Chicago and tracked down the Tile on her bag.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's amazing how a company that can have a lead like that and really own a market can become complacent. And then a company like Apple, especially Apple, shows up and says, it's our market now. And then boom, just like that, all the stories are about AirTags and not Tile.
And it's like every week we're scanning the news stories for you guys to listen to hear about it. And every time I see it, it's the same type of story like this. But this one was by far one of the most bizarre. let's put it that way.
Yeah. Tile screwed up twice here. Number one, they got arrogant and let Apple pretty much take the market from them. And number two, when it became very clear that the compatible Find My ecosystem was going to be very popular among its competitors.
Yep.
For purely pride reasons, they're like, no, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because they could have owned the Find My market.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So check out both articles I have here in the show notes. One was from CNN, and another one from 9 to 5 Mac. There was some really good information beyond what we talked about, but I wanted to just sum that up because we could probably spend a good chunk of time here talking about this because it's such an interesting story here. So talking about more of probably a lower key story here. Our thoughts and prayers are going out to the folks in Hawaii, specifically the island of Maui and the Big Island, because the massive wildfires and pretty much. I remember visiting there 10 years ago on Maui, and went to the old Lanai, Luau, and the Lanai. The downtown area was so beautiful. It's gone. I mean, the fires just basically wiped out that entire area of that very sacred and old city. But the story I want to talk about is just like AirTags, we're talking about iPhone's emergency SOS via satellite. This helped a family get rescued amid a forest fire. They were in a vehicle. The wildfires started erupted around them, and they were driving in a white van. They could not call for help because cell phone service was down and internet's also down on the island of Maui. So it did go through, and they had to go to the emergency SOS, and it uses the triggers to ask a few questions. And it's really interesting. This is from 9 to 5 Mac. There's a link to the person that experienced this and tweeted the actual step-by-steps of what went through with the SOS and the emergency services. and they gave the narrative. They talked about the fire and showed it the pinpoint of exactly where they were, right down in that area of Maui, and then gave through all the details, and they were saved. And it wasn't for this one person that had an iPhone 14 in their group. I believe only one person out of everybody had an iPhone, specifically an iPhone 14. Yeah, they rescued him. So I'm telling you, I love hearing these stories, and I think Apple should be very proud of the fact that they put this service on when the iPhone 14 was introduced almost a year ago now, and very proud to be an owner of an iPhone just because of that sake. I feel safe having that whenever I would travel. So what do you think, Jeff?
First, I hate that we have these stories happening.
Me too.
At the same time, I'm so happy that we have these stories, because this is the happy ending for what otherwise could have been an even worse tragedy. And the fact that Apple has done so much to make technologies like this accessible, it's not hyperbole at this point to say Apple is saving lives, because they are.
They are. By implementing this feature, having the subscriptions that are linked to the satellite, you don't pay for it, but it's there for your protection, because they know it's not going to get used very often. But in a case like this, it was so important. Don't you think, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I don't even know what to say about this. I mean, this type of technology is not new. The ability to carry around a little device that can communicate in an emergency situation with satellites is not new. But the fact that we can have that type of technology in our pockets with the phone that we're already carrying, thanks to the addition of this feature to the iPhone 14, is amazing.
No.
And this is literally a game changer. And once again, it's a change made to the game by Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, this is pretty much the worst case scenario, a Roland Emmerich movie in real life.
Yeah.
If they had any other device, these people would probably be dead right now.
Oh, there's no question.
I think I'm not someone who normally would be for mandating stuff, but I think emergency satellite communication in a cellular phone should be something that is in all new cellular devices. The kind of thing that T-Mobile and I forget, was it SpaceX are working on 5G to satellite communication. Everybody should be investing in something like that. This is something that saves lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Jeff said, it's not conjecture at this point. There are people alive on that island because they had an iPhone 14.
Yep. No question about it. No question about it. Good.
Ben, I totally agree with you on the satellite SOS feature should be built into all devices now. There's a time where I wouldn't have agreed with you, but over the past 10 years, I've experienced entire towns literally washed away by floods or burned to the ground, like towns in Colorado that simply don't exist anymore. Towns where I have friends that lived at the time.
Yep.
And in some cases, people were just simply stranded, and there was no cell service because the towers were gone. And it would have been really, really helpful to have the ability to at least get an SOS message out through satellite.
Yeah, this should be a 911 requirement.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. So, I'm glad they're safe, and like you said, I hope everybody else is safe out there in Maui and the Big Island, and that these fires, that's devastating fires stop here. So, let's move on to something a little more upbeat. This is I don't like to do too many rumors, but I think this was kind of an interesting thing here. But tvOS 17, there was code that confirmed that the A17 chip is for the iPhone 15 Pro and the A16 for the iPhone 15. These references were for unreleased iPhone models. It was found in tvOS by a coder that delve into this and look at the model numbers. It appears to confirm that Apple's chip choice for the devices. The identifiers went through and they're talking about an iPhone 15,4, 15,5, 16,1, 16,2 would kind of tell you that one set's the Pro, one set's not the Pro, and goes through and gives through this stuff. And interesting to see if that's the case, that they're going to just do another. They're doing the same thing. They didn't do this last time because the A16 chip is the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max now. So they're carrying now they're again making us want to buy the 15 Pro, and not that I wouldn't anyway, but that now that those are going to have the even faster chips that are in there. So I'm looking forward to the next iPhone. We got a little less than a month away here, so what do you think, Ben?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Last year they set a precedent that the regular iPhone will have last year's Pro chip. Well, they're just continuing with that. Not only does it make the iPhone Pro look more desirable, it probably also helps with the bottom line a bit.
Yeah, because it makes it truly a Pro model because it has the higher Pro chip. So, what do you think, Mike?
Oh, I agree with Ben. I mean, there was precedent for this, and my only thought really is, one, I'm amused that they discovered this in tvOS.
Yeah, that's the other thing I kind of
wondered. But two, the second thought that occurred to me was it really just goes to show how close all of Apple's operating systems are to each other, iOS and tvOS and iPadOS and macOS, that they can discover this in tvOS.
Yep.
Really shows how much of the code is shared amongst all their different operating systems.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How about you, Jeff?
I think Ben nailed it. And just to build on part of what Ben was saying, yeah, if you're taking what was essentially last year's Pro model and making it the not Pro model for this year, and yes, I know there would be some other differences, but that's kind of what's happening here. The manufacturing costs for that device have gone down over the year because by that point, probably the development costs will have all been recouped, and that's the big thing right there. Get that recouped, and then you've streamlined and refined the production process for the device and its components. Now it costs less. That's why the SE phones have always worked so well for Apple, and why it's been easy for them to keep them in the lineup. It's because it's super cheap, relatively speaking, to make them at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's going to be interesting to see because I'll lead right into the next story. Is that there's pretty much a confidence that Apple's event likely will be held on September 12th this year. This was from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, which you can pretty well trust most of his commentary when it goes for rumors, but it just seems like right around the timing of where the past events have been. So they will unveil, and if they do unveil around that time, we'll probably anticipate that they would release the pre-orders would take place on Friday, the September 15th, and then the launch would happen the week later on Friday the 22nd. It's been pretty consistent for a long time here. As we just talked about, they're talking about releasing a 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and a 15 Pro Max. And the dynamic island is going to be expected to be on all iPhone 15 models, as well as USB-C, baby. It's going to be on an iPhone. I'm almost confident that's going to happen. I think it's a long time coming. They also possibly say on the watch, no question, we'll have probably a Series 9, as well as probably an Ultra 2 Apple Watch. And then we'll probably get it's a repeat every year, right? So I smell this episode of watch event on some podcast called For Mac Eyes Only. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. What do you think?
Little reaction time episode
reaction
coming
time.
up. Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Always fun. I always enjoy those.
Yeah, me too. So
the great thing about this is that then on September 13th, we can start talking about the iPhone 16.
So, yeah, because they've been talking about it anyway, so I just ignore it.
Yeah, but now we'll be officially talking about it.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, you mean where they dust off the rumor article and just change the numbers?
Just change the number, exactly.
Yeah. Pretty much. That pretty much happens.
Anything that didn't make it into the 15 suddenly is coming for the 16 for real this time.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Jeff or Ben, on this before we move on?
Go ahead, Ben.
Go ahead, Jeff. You talk first.
All right. Well, we'll see if I hit any of the stuff that Ben's going to say. Actually, I'll keep it short so that Ben, you have time to talk too. I'm going to throw out my speculation that no one will like, and my speculation is that the new iPhone will still have a Lightning port, and it will not be USB-C. I think Apple is holding out until EU law requires the USB-C port, and then they're going to take the port away.
Interesting.
Just take it away entirely?
Yep.
Or take away Lightning. And
no, they're going to take away the port. There won't be a Lightning or a USB-C.
No USB-C or Lightning.
All MagSafe. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
You're right, Jeff. I don't like that part. I don't like that they take away an auxiliary means of charging in an instance where you don't have the ability to charge via MagSafe. I'm not sure I like that option. Lightning port versus USB-C, I don't care. I like the Lightning port. It's easy to use. The convenience is the same. It's reversible. Plug it in, boom, it charges. Cool. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Yep. Go ahead, Ben.
To be perfectly honest, USB-C may be the only reason that I upgrade from my 12 Pro Max. The thing is such a great phone still, even after 3 years, that it still feels brand new. And why spend a bunch of money right now that I don't have to?
Bingo.
Yep. Yeah. That said, there's one I would have agreed with Jeff if not for the Qi 2 spec. Because if it was going to be a completely portless phone, there would have been data transfer in that spec. God knows you're able to do
statement.
Yeah, God knows you can do wireless almost as fast as any cord right now that you'd use on a phone. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I think Apple knows the EU is not messing around this time. They could theoretically not keep with Lightning, but you're seeing Lightning go away in a lot of Apple's own devices already.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The lovely Lightning to 3.5 millimeter cable was basically put to rest in the Beats Studio Pro for basically a DAC capable pair of headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be the killer feature. And especially if it's announced with the AirPods Max 2, where you can now have your iPhone 15. It is 15.
Yep.
And have full wired lossless audio.
How about if Apple does a proprietary spec that lets them do full lossless wireless. I mean, it would be completely proprietary, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yep.
But that would eliminate a lot of potential hurdles for Apple right there.
Yeah,
it would, but you would also just anger a bunch of your users who just paid you $300 for a pair of headphones. That were released a month before.
If Apple hadn't done that very thing many times, piss off their users a month after they bought something, I'd say, oh, good point. But that's an Apple thing right there.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on if you're okay with that. And just close out with this last story. This is a quick one. Apple Watch fast charging is going to be mandatory for accessory makers. Apple has told Apple Watch accessory makers that they will have to switch to its fast charging module, which I'm saying bravo. It's about time, because the old charging way was much slower. It was introduced in the Watch Series 7, which I'm still sporting here in 2021. And it does rapidly charge from 0 to 80% in about 45 minutes. It goes pretty quick. And they had shortages of these charging modules first, but some of these devices, they need to do this now. So, but the accessory makers can continue to submit plans for accessories to include the original non-fast charging variant, which I think would be stupid at this point. But it'll be no longer available in the M5 program at the end of September of this year. So good for Apple to force upon this. I think it's important now at this point. Old technology. We need to update the new technology, and watch it charge faster. And I switched it on mine at my bedside, so when I put it on, it charges quick. So I'm happy. I'm sure all of you have Apple Watches that it's the same as your experience. So, any comments on that? We can go ahead and move on.
To quote the great Lizzo, it's about damn time.
That's a good way to segue. So let's go ahead and move on. Beta for this week. Apple did release the third public beta of iOS 17, iPadOS 17, as well as they seeded the fifth beta of the developer beta of 17 on iOS and iPadOS as well. I didn't notice much else difference. A couple of things I'll hit in just a minute here, but same old features. Ben, have you seen anything? I assume you updated, and have you seen anything that's changed for you?
Yep. Oh yes. The only thing I have seen is actually listed on its own thing here.
Yeah. Hold your thought on that. And did you have any thoughts on beta, Jeff? Before we'll move on to that.
Just go ahead and move on.
Okay. And I know, Mike, you don't do beta, so I won't bother you. So
not with my phone.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just mention fifth beta of WatchOS 10 is out, as well as the fifth beta of tvOS 17. Generally, those don't have much going, but yes, this has probably been the biggest thing of the press. This was actually put out today as we're recording this, that yes, iOS 17 is changed where the end call button is located on the phone. A change was introduced with the first beta back in June that now is going viral this week. A number of changes in here. So now they're revamping it. And I'm looking at the picture. This was in 95 Mac. It is in quite a different place. It has been for like forever. That it's now down and shifted all the way at the end, because now we know how currently is that the end button is all by its lonesome at the bottom there, but not anymore. It's going to be all packed up with all the other buttons in one place. So you got to look on the bottom right to end your call. So go ahead, Ben. You wanted to say something about this. I know this is definitely. I think people will get over it just like anything else.
That's pretty much what I was going to say. To me, I have had plenty of calls since they made the change. Mm-hmm. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, and I don't make calls on this phone, so I didn't even notice either. So,
yeah, but I mean, I just look for the red.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your eyes have to shift to the right a little bit. Yeah. So, any thoughts on that, Jeff?
People hang up on me all the time, so I don't have to do a call. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
No,
Click.
All right. So overall, I think this is good because look what's happening with the rest of the buttons. They're coming down to the bottom of the screen. To me, a smartphone it's a mobile phone device. It should be usable in one hand.
Yeah.
As much as possible. Well, it should be usable in one hand. And with all the rest of the buttons up higher, it wasn't a one-hand communication device.
Yeah.
So bring them all down. Great. Now that's easier. Moving it to the side means that the times that I've accidentally hung up on people when I've gone to swipe up to get to a different app while I'm talking to them, that goes away. So I'm pleased with this overall. Yeah. What I would like is if there was a setting so you could move the end button to the other corner so that it's positioned best for left or right-handed people.
Yeah, come on, but let us customize it. Let us customize it.
I was just holding my phone in my hand to see how that would work as you were talking about the one-handed operation, and I agree with you. It should be in the lower left. Now, the other thing I'm not seeing a big deal made out of, though, is they're rearranging all the other buttons. Every other button is moved down there in the bottom.
Yep.
Audio swapped, mute is swapped, keypad is swapped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, everything moved.
Completely shifted.
So we have to learn where all the buttons are. And as Ben said, I just have to look for that big red one.
Just get over it. It'll be fine.
I just have to say something completely inappropriate, and the call takes care of itself.
Yes.
I'll hang up for you.
I mean, my ultimate view on this, when the previous iPhone layout was designed, phones were a much, much smaller device. They're simply redesigning the OS to reflect current realities.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We'll keep reporting on it when iOS 17 is finally released. We'll be covering this extensively, all the new features that we keep talking about on iOS 17 here. So let's go ahead and move on to a new topic here. And I asked Jeff if he would mind if we talk about this because he did a great presentation for the Mac and Tech Apple user group over in Colorado. And I thought it'd be a great way to talk about, since it's fresh in your mind, is about Passkeys and how they've really evolved and how important they've become in everyday life, and especially when iOS 17 is released and they're syncing. So, if you could give us the overview on what you talked about at the Apple user group and what your thoughts are on Passkeys.
Well, first, the fact that you showed up and hung out and participated. That was really cool. It was so great to see you there.
Yeah. Kelly too.
All right. So, and Kelly Gamet joined us too. Yep. So I ended up with kind of an impromptu brain panel. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So what I talked about for the user group, specifically because these are people that knew the word passkey had been coming up, but they didn't really understand what it was. So I talked about what a passkey is, and then we talked about how it was going to matter for them. So the short version for people who aren't familiar with passkeys yet, this is the next evolution in login authentication. So going beyond what we have today, where it's username and password plus some other method of authentication to go with it to make it two-factor authentication. This is where the devices are handling the authentication for you. So for each, we'll keep it simple for now. Each website that you log into that supports passkey, your computer, your iPhone, your iPad, whatever device is generating a public key and a private key. The private key is what you hold. The public key goes to the website. And when you go to log in, the website knows that you have a passkey, so it presents its part, and then your computer presents its part, and they match everything up. And if everything checks out okay, then you get logged in, and this takes place super fast. I've set this up on one of my Google accounts just so that I could play with it. And if something broke, I wasn't going to be completely screwed. And it's one of those things where I set it up, logged myself out, went to log in, and the login was so fast because it was just, I go to log in and I touch the Touch ID on my Mac and I'm in. I was done. That was it. And that's different from when you're using a password manager and you use Touch ID or Face ID to authenticate, because what that is, that's the password manager filling in your username and password to complete a login, as opposed to what Passkey does, which is authenticates through Face ID, Touch ID, something like that you are you. And then it uses these crazy long keys that it's generated, the private key and public key in the background, to verify that whole login process. And so the idea here is, once we start using passkeys, we have a method of authenticating for logging in to websites and other services where a man-in-the-middle attack is not going to be effective, where hackers breaking into a corporate database and making off with all the logins, that's not going to have any value because there's nothing they can do with those. They can't reverse engineer your private key out of a public key, even if it's an unencrypted public key. With the technology we have today, you just can't do it. And for the foreseeable future, you just can't do it. So all of your devices, as an Apple user, unless you're using like old stuff, you already have passkey support built in. And what's going to help really drive adoption forward on the part of companies and websites will come with iOS 17. And that's when passkey support gets really embedded into mobile Safari in a way that makes it useful for everyone. Right now, it's kind of a kludge to use passkeys on your iPhone, but that's going to get smoothed out with iOS 17. So it's not like you have to have anything special as far as technology added into your devices to support this. It's just there. And why would all these companies say, oh, well, iOS 17 is out. Now it's time to get on board with this technology that's been available for a few years now. Mm-hmm. This is just that important tipping point, I think. Good, newer Android phones, they have passkey support. Windows has passkey support. The big technology players, they all are in the consortium that's driving passkey support. So it's not like this is Apple out on their own saying, hey, we made this thing and it's going to be cool. No, this is an industry standard that's been developed. So now what I'm waiting for is the updates for 1Password to come out, because it's public beta right now. So if you want to play with passkey support today and you're 1Password user, by the way, they're not paying me to say any of this. I pay them every year for my license.
Yeah, I think we all do here.
Yep. You'll be able to start using passkey with 1Password, and it will support the part of the passkey standard that allows you to have your passkeys mobile, so they can be on all your devices. And to me, that's important. So what I'm going to do once passkey support is public, or in the public release for 1Password, and actually we have to wait for iOS 17 so that the hooks that 1Password needs on mobile are in place. Then it's this truly transparent thing. But that's when I'm really going to dive into getting everything that I can on to a passkey, and my iPhone at that point will serve as my primary device for authenticating regardless of what device I'm actually using at the time. And because that's a device that'll be with me everywhere, which means that if I'm, say, at a relative's house and I have to log into some service using my own logins, if it supports Passkey, I can do it from their computer.
That's awesome.
They don't have to have any of my login info. And even if I was, say, on a Windows computer where there was malware that was capturing keystrokes, it still wouldn't get my login information because that's being handled through Passkey, independent of what's happening right there on that specific computer.
Yeah.
So Apple is definitely on board with this. What's going to happen when iOS 17 drops is Apple is automatically setting up your passkey for your Apple ID. So you will start logging into your iCloud services after you install iOS 17 via Passkey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I did include in the show notes, there's a link to the developers site for Passkeys that kind of really gives you a good detail on what Jeff just talked about and what Apple is doing on their end to get this to work well with their devices, as well as I put some more links about 1Password in that as well.
Did you add in passkeys.directory to that?
I will do that.
I haven't looked at the notes.
Yes, I will do that.
Yeah, passkeys.directory is a website that was set up and is maintained by 1Password, and it's a database of websites and companies that are supporting Passkey. So right now, for you to know which websites you can log into using a passkey, it's more of a thing if you go and look at your login settings and you find a thing where there's a button for passkey. Like if you want to set up your Google account for that, you have to go look for the thing. 1Password is going to know automatically. And so you go to log into a site and it'll give you a pop-up that says, hey, do you want to switch to passkey? You say yes, takes a couple seconds and you're set up. But having a place that you can go and look and see who's supporting passkeys is kind of cool. So passkeys.directory for that.
Yep. It's in the show notes. So check that out. It's a really good directory. Ben, did you have anything to add with the passkeys? Or are you excited for this? I am.
I've been excited since there was initial support last year.
Yep.
I am one of those who played around with the Google Passkey. And I mean, it just works.
Yeah. It's super slick. Yeah. It took me longer to set it up because I wanted to take screenshots.
Yeah.
So really the screenshot capture part of each step took longer than the steps themselves.
Yeah.
Because it was a couple dialogues to let you know, hey, this is what you're about to do. Here's what it means. And then it says, and you're done.
Yeah. And I mean, the big three went in, made sure it worked with all their proprietary technologies seamlessly. It's something that Apple wants. It's something that Google wants. It's something that Microsoft wants. And as soon as it is out in the public, everybody should be doing passkeys.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it a step farther, Ben. Since this is out in the public, everyone should have all these companies should have already started using passkeys, or at least make it an option.
Yeah, agree. Mike, any thoughts on this? Or just something you're going to look at once it comes out?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think on a personal level, this is a great advancement for typical users to have, as we were saying just a moment ago, their ability to unlock websites in their hand with them, no matter where they go. Mm-hmm. My concern, as a tech person, I always think about what can go wrong, those kind of things. And I wonder about fallback methods. I wonder about how it's going to work for me personally as someone who supports multiple clients and need to get ready access to services that they subscribe to, hosting services and email services and things like that. In order for me to support them, I need to be able to access those services. So I wonder how this is going to work. Okay, that's great. That's so cool. There you go. So they can share keys. I have a hard enough time stepping people through two-factor authentication.
Yes.
You received a text message. I don't see it. Well, you swiped it away. Here, let me have it send it to you.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I start thinking about valid. All these things. So on a personal level, freaking-tastic. Yes, it's about time. Everyone should be using this. On a personal level, on a mic level, I start wondering how this is going to affect me and my ability to service my clients. But that's not for anyone to be concerned about. That's just for me to be concerned about, and how I'm going to make that work as folks start switching over to Passkeys for their services that I need access to.
Well, be prepared as people start installing iOS 17 and presumably whatever version of Mac OS. When they went to the location names in California for right. Mac OS versions, that was it for me. I no longer have any idea what any version of Mac OS is. My brain just doesn't do it anymore. So anyhow, whatever we get this fall, I'm assuming it will do the same thing where it automatically would switch you to a passkey for iCloud.
Right.
I expect there will be some people that are very confused about what's happening, because if you're using passkeys on your Mac, you have to have iCloud Keychain enabled. It is a requirement, and a lot of people don't. Yeah. So, Mike, you're going to be getting calls from people wanting to know what iCloud Keychain is, and why is this malware trying to tell me it needs to be turned on, and or they'll get
just
everything
leave it off.
Just leave it off.
Just ignore it.
That's what people tend to do.
No, that's horrible advice.
Bad advice.
I'm kidding.
But
I'm kidding.
I mean, people are that way with MFA. I mean, multi-factor authentication. So
yeah.
I mean, and
thankfully, more and more people are turning that on.
Yeah, well, Apple's enforcing it on any new accounts at least. So if anybody signs up for an Apple ID, you have no choice. But yeah, I think if it's easy, and us as technology professionals here, we need to educate everybody with this. That's why I'm glad you took the time to kind of talk about this, and we probably should revisit this topic again in a future episode, just to
it wouldn't surprise me if we do.
Yes, just to reiterate, once iOS 17 is out, we've got some experience using it in the real world. I think people will be interested to hear about it, because got to get them to learn how to do it, and that's why we teach.
Yep. And Jeff, the next version of macOS is macOS Wine Leopard.
Wine Leopard?
Wine Leopard. Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to macOS West Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a fabulous version of macOS.
Yeah. With the remaining minutes we have left on the show here, I wanted to do a little bit of this week in cord cutting. There's been some interesting stuff, and it seems like it's always a constant when it comes to what's going on here. The first story I wanted to hit on is in Disney. They come up with the worst times to increase pricing. I mean, it seems like all streaming services are increasing their pricing as of late, and they were not doing very well with Disney Plus. They're losing subscribers, and of course they also own Hulu and ESPN. So the biggest blow for us as consumers, they're going to be doing price hikes across the board for all the various services. So Disney Plus Premium is going to go up by $3, and then Hulu without ads, $3. It's $13.99 a month for premium. So no, you have no ads. And then Hulu without ads will also increase by $3 for $17.99. And then ESPN Plus, those of you who are sports fans and want to pay extra for that, will go up $1. But I believe you are going to be able to combine at least Disney Plus and Hulu together for $20 a month, and that's not with live TV. So you'll have that option as well.
Wait, $20 for both?
For both, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's ad-free?
That's ad-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually the most compelling reason to get both services right there.
Exactly. So because if you're paying you're going to pay $13.99 for Disney Plus, and then why not get Hulu without ads?
And then another $18 for Hulu.
Yeah. because that's telling people, you know what, because they were bundling all three, the Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So there's no, if you don't care about sports, as many people don't, then you wouldn't have to bundle it. So, but the price increases have been going like crazy. YouTube TV's done it. There's all kinds of the other services have been increasing on prices. It's cost of business. I mean, and especially you're paying to have the content on the specific services. Well, I mean, Disney has it; it's their content, but they're they are losing they're losing subscribers, and I guess you can't blame them. But it's just seems that it's the trend when it comes to that. The other thing too is Disney is going to start jumping on the Netflix bandwagon by cracking down on password sharing. This will happen probably next year. So because of their losses of moving, their losses, they're looking at this as well. This is going to be an opportunity to grow their business. Bob Iger said this on a financial call, saying this. So kind of expect that to be happening soon enough, and see where that goes. I'm telling you, this cord cutting world continues to evolve here, because it's a constant when it comes to change, and that's why I brought this topic into the show, just because I think it's interesting to see, and we're all living in this world now too. But I wanted to touch on a couple more issues with YouTube TV. If you didn't already know, I mentioned this in previous episode that I cut the cord. I got rid of Comcast, so I no longer have Comcast cable or internet. I'm very happy with AT&T fiber, and I went and moved on to YouTube TV, and I'm been pretty happy with it so far. Takes a little bit of getting used to. The interfaces can be kind of quirky at times, and there are a few channels that I do enjoy that aren't on there. Specifically, the History Channel, because I do enjoy a lot of the content on there. So I find alternate ways of watching that, and legally, of course. But this is an interesting thing, and I've been playing around with it. YouTube does have this multi-view feature in the YouTube app within itself, and they've got a number of them, including sports, but they also have news and they also have weather. So right now for the weather, they have both the Fox weather and the Weather Channel in a double box through the multi-view. The news, it has if you want to be following CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, and I think there's one other channel that they have that too. And you just it's cool because you can navigate through each box and be able to scroll through these multi-channels. I'm hoping that they start adding more of this, because we talked about it with Apple TV. Apple TV was adding that feature with the MLS. So this is really going to be a trend, which you're going to see if this is going to happen. And for those of you who would subscribe to the NFL Sunday Ticket, they will have that multi-stream feature on there, because that kind of inspired why YouTube TV did this, because of the Sunday Ticket. People want to be able to watch their 8 football games all at once. So
I laugh, but I have a feeling that's actually not a joke. I'm not sure, but
no, it's when it was on DirecTV, they DirecTV had it set that way where you could watch all 12 games if you want, or however many are being played at one given time.
God.
Yeah. So
yes, I will take Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes on my TV at the same time.
Jeff has no idea who you're talking about. So
no, but I'm making up this amazing headcanon for what Ben is watching.
One thing I also mentioned on the last story here is YouTube TV has been partially broke for iOS and iPad with some buffering issues. I have noticed that. They say they are working on it. So they're working to fix it. One thing I didn't know is they rate the top 5 carriers. YouTube TV is now number 5 of all the services. Wow. So they've grown that much with their services. I think you still have Comcast and some of the others that are up in the top 4 above it. But yeah, YouTube TV is becoming a relatively popular service out there where people are switching. I'm happy I did it. And we got the content. And if I get sick of it, it's easy to cancel. That's what's the great thing about it. You call Comcast. Well, they've gotten a lot easier now because they know people are doing it. If they argue with you, they're going to be like, they're going to social media bombed. So I've done that plenty of times. So, but that's core cutting for this week. Before we go though, I want to make sure Mike talks about Macstock and the virtual pass. I've been talking about it. If you don't already know, Mike, a number of times after Macstock has ended, and I know you're feverishly working on getting all the videos edited from Macstock 7. So tell us what's going on with that Macstock on as far as the virtual pass. And I saw it's available to be purchased now because you had it down for a time last week. So
had it down just for a couple days, mostly because they're through confusion created only by myself. There is the virtual pass,
right,
which was for folks to join us live at Macstock, join remotely live and watch everything live. And then there's the digital pass, which I have been releasing every year since 2018. Right. So the digital pass is what's available for purchase now. I did the swap over from virtual to digital, and yes, have been working to edit all the videos down, the live stream videos down to just the individual talks, adding new title cards to each one with the author's visage. Yes, I'm looking at you, Jeff.
Do I need to get you a photo or something?
No, I got a photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only one who doesn't have an actual photo this year is Mike Schmitz. He gave me it's like a caricature of him. That's what he wanted to use this year.
Would you like a caricature of me?
No,
I always have one handy.
You could supply your hand-drawn Jeff that you used in your presentation if you want to, but no, I've got a lovely photo of you.
Yeah, your stock
with pants.
With pants.
And the
with pants.
So I am editing. So it's much easier this year thanks to the combination of Ecamm Live and the venue we were in, and the skillful directing of our volunteer Roger, who helped out this year. It's much easier. In the earliest videos, there are a couple places where we were getting our sea legs as we're doing the live stream. But it's going to make it a lot easier to cut it down and get that all released. And what I typically do with the digital pass, and I can rethink this at any time in the future, but I typically just include everything. It's all there. And I put little cues in the video to say, look, if you want to skip all this pre-talk stuff, just jump ahead to this point. But yeah, I just include everything in it. So typically takes me about, a couple hours to go through each video to make sure everything's there, how it should be. And if there are parts where you can't hear a attendee asking a question, I try to grab the audio from a different source and bring it in. So some of that stuff takes a little time, but yeah, I'm working through day one. I'm hoping to have that available in just a few days, really.
Awesome.
And then I'll get that announced, and then day 2 I'll start working on that, and everything will be done.
Awesome. So where do people go to get that virtual pass?
You can go to the official URL is max.conferenceandexpo.com, but you can also go to max.conference.com. That will bounce you over to the longer one. And the button to purchase it is right on the top there. And as I see you put in the notes, you can catch Dave, you can catch Brittany and Chuck and Jeff and all sorts of fantastic folks who gave their talks, including Chuck. Chuck's been on your show recently.
Yes, he has.
Allison Sheridan, of course, and Dave Hamilton, and
a lot of great shows.
Let's see, who else do we have?
Rachel Schmitz.
What was that?
That's a lot of great people.
Oh, yes. Rachel Schmitz and Mike Schmitz.
Jill McKinley, who was on the show.
Jill McKinley. Yep. She was on your show too.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. She was on your show. Yeah. And Marty Gentius.
Great.
So, yeah, we've got a fantastic lineup, and I've heard nothing but fantastic comments from everyone about all the talks this year.
Good.
So just a great lineup.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So
really proud of the work that everyone did with their talks this year.
Good deal. So we'll keep talking up. I'll get you to jump on and watch what we did, because it was a blast for sure. So let's go ahead.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios. We're on Twitter too, or I'm sorry, X. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a Patreon of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on YouTube, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Hi, Cletus. I saw you jump into the chat, and great to see you tonight. That's where you can be there and be in that chat. And you can also go there and watch the live stream. We leave the live stream up. You can watch all of our shenanigans before the show as well as during the show, as well as you can listen to all the past shows that are out on YouTube. You also can go and visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to our show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 and mastodon.cloud. Mike Potter, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
I'm not sure I can follow that up, Dave. Folks can find me at formaceyesonly.com. There, Eric and I, we record live the 2nd and 4th Friday every month. And you'll find that at youtube.com/FMEOTV or on Mastodon, tooting.ninja/formaceyesonly. And of course, as you just so generously mentioned, Macstock Conference and Expo. Also, tooting.ninja/Macstock Expo. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you for being here. Ben Roethig, so glad you're here as well. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on your social media of choice. There's about 50,000 of them now.
At least.
You can find me on, you can find me on my website, roethig.tech. On Tuesday nights, you can find me on Mac Voices with a Mr. Chuck Joyner. On Thursdays and Fridays, you can find me on the British Tech Network with Mr. Jeff Gamet on the Big and Mac shows. And of course, Thursday nights, you can find me here in Touch with iOS, where I am a regular contributor.
Yes, I'm very happy you are. Thank you. And then last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thanks as always for being here. Great discussion about Passkeys. I really appreciate that. And where can people find you?
Well, first, thank you for letting me back on yet again. It is genuinely awesome to get to hang out with you and everyone that's here. I just love it. Okay, where can people find me? On the socials, J Gamet, basically everywhere. The places that I'm most active right now are Mastodon and Instagram. But I'm like everywhere. Let's see. Then shows. Chuck Joyner, for some reason, keeps letting me on Mac Voices Live every Tuesday. Then on Thursdays, as been noted, there's the big show on the British Tech Network. And then, Dave, you keep letting me on In Touch with iOS. It's just like the surprise that I get when Chuck clicks the admit button. I'm surprised when you do the same. But I do appreciate it. Okay, then on Fridays, back to the British Tech Network for the Mac Show, and then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine. That's all I can think of for now.
I think it's a good crop of places to find you, Jeff. Thanks so much for being here. And thank you for listening. We appreciate you being here. We enjoyed doing the show, and we will talk to you next time.